Kia ora e te iwi. Nau mai, hara mai, and welcome to this evening's Centre for Health Hauora Kōrero. Ko Natalie Hilterman tōku ingoa, he ori ahau ki Ngāti Whakaue, me Ngāti Kahungunu, me te whakatōhia. I will be facilitating tonight's kōrero on workplace wellness. We all move at a relentless pace, where demands and pressures seem to multiply daily. However, if we are stressed, we aren't going to be productive in the workplace. And tonight we're going to be talking about how to address these issues individually and how to create a culture of wellness within a team. We hope that this evening's kōrero will give whānau watching at home the knowledge, practical tools and inspiration to create working environments where both individuals and organisations can flourish. Our aim is to empower you to make changes that will result in feeling happier, healthier and more fulfilled, ultimately leading to improved work performance. Shortly we'll meet tonight's panel who will be sharing with us their insights and whakaaro, juggling mahi alongside keeping a good health and well-being. If you have any specific pātai for us, please private message us or pop it into the chat box below. Before we begin, I'd like to open our hauora kōrero with a whakatauki. Introducing our director at the Centre for Health, Anna Rolliston. Can you open for us, please?
Sure. Kia ora, Nat. Ko Māori te whānau. We open our hauora kōrero with either a karakia or a whakatauki. And this evening we've chosen a whakatauki that relates to the kaupapa for this evening. And that whakatauki is mā mua ka kite a muri, mā muri ka ora a mua. And what that means is those who lead give sight to those who follow, and those who follow give life to those who lead. And it's kind of that idea that there are people in the front and there are people that sit behind, but without either, you've got to have both of those for something to work beautifully. And it's kind of the analogy of how a marae works in Chao Māori, but actually it's how a workplace works. There's always the leaders that, you know, stand out in front and might face things. And then there are people who contribute to the work environment. And when we're talking about hauora or health in the workplace, you know, it's often we think it's the responsibilities of the leaders to lead the culture or the health initiatives in an organisation, but actually it's the responsibility of the whole whānau to ensure that people are well, that the organisation is well. And so that's kind of the direction for our kōrero this evening, is about the fact that you might not be the leader in your workplace or your organisation, but you still have a real ability to impact on the health and well-being of your colleagues and the people around you. And if you are a leader watching this, you're a leader in your organisation, then you know who's following you and what role modelling are you providing for those who are following you. So thanks for jumping on this evening, and yeah, we hope you enjoy the kōrero. Thanks, Nat.
Beautiful, Anna. Thank you for opening our kōrero tonight. And what we'll do now, whānau, is we'll just go around and introduce our amazing panel I tēnei pō. So Hannah, I'm going to pick on you first. If you could open our kōrero with a bit of whakawhanangatanga, please, e hoa.
Yeah, kia ora e te whānau. So yeah, I'm Hannah. I am a clinical exercise physiologist down at the Centre for Health with Anna. So I guess my background is understanding and recognising the way that our physiology responds to environmental factors, stresses, illness, injury, all of those types of things, and helping identify it and figure out plans to manage it and hopefully get rid of it or prevent it from occurring in the first place.
Kia ora, Anna. Kitty?
Kia ora, everyone. I'm the General Manager of Legacy Funerals. We've got a branch here in Tauranga, one in Cambridge and one in Hamilton. I manage 16 staff. We've got 8 funeral directors, 3 embalmers and administrative staff. We are owned by a charitable trust, so we give all our profit back to the local communities that our funeral homes are in, and I manage that as well. Yeah, and I'm just here to help share how we work within our very challenging environment.
Beautiful, Kitty. Thank you for that. Steve? Kia ora, Steve.
Kia ora, tēnā koutou katoa. Hey, so I'm Steve Hissey. I work at Kanuka Wellbeing and Leadership and have some responsibility in that space in working with senior leaders in a variety of different organizations, particularly around mindset and behaviour change. It's kind of my mahi day in and day out. My huarangatira and I have 4 kids, and we're based here in Tauranga Moana for the last sort of 18 years or so. So nice to be on the panel and be invited to be here tonight. Kia ora.
Oh, kia ora, Steve.
Mm.
And Anna? Anō.
Kia ora.
Anō,
Anō. Kia ora anō i te whānau. No Tauranga Moana hau, i kai whakahaere mō Manawa Order, the Centre for Health. Kia ora everyone, I'm Anna, I'm Managing Director at Centre for Health. I feel funny having to introduce myself every time we do this.
I was just thinking that, so
Yeah, yeah.
What we look at that?
And like I said at the intro, thanks for tuning in tonight, and please, we've obviously got some things to talk about, but please message in any pātai that you have, any questions that you have that are relevant to your situation. Would be happy to, you know, help you out specifically. So take advantage of the fact that we're all here and listening. Kia ora.
Kia ora, Anna. Oh, well, whānau. Let's kick off with our pātai tēnei pō. Our first pātai that I want to open with is for our wonderful panel. We live and work in such sedentary times. What are some examples that we can do to keep moving, even if we are at work all day and sitting down? Hannah is our local physiologist. I'm going to pick on you first.
I've got loads of ideas for that.
Give me some.
Or one of them, obviously it's winter. I get to work, it's dark. I go home, it's dark. Therefore, I'm at work when the sun is out during the day. So go outside for any meetings that you want to do. Go for a walk. Exercise stimulates blood flow to the brain, so it's going to help in that regard as well. Take your kai outside. Just get outside when the sun's out. Exercise helps stimulate blood flow to every area of the body, so it's only going to be helpful. And we take a slightly longer lunch break so that we can do our exercise at lunchtime. Might mean starting a little earlier or finishing a little later, and we're lucky that we can do that. But yeah, that's just one of the examples. Yeah.
Kitty? Oh, Kitty, do you have...
I think we're quite fortunate because the role that we do, we're moving all the time, apart from our administrative staff and me. I'm a problem. So I just try and set a timer so that every hour I move and make sure that others around me have. We've also implemented standing desks, which have been really helpful for the staff to, especially administrative staff, to get up and move. And I keep an eye on everyone. The place that we're at in Pies Para is beautiful. So I just try and make sure that people do go for a walk outside like Hannah has suggested. That another thing that we had changed a little bit is some of our staff live in Omakoroa, so the drive at the moment is a challenge, and I don't think that's going to change. So one of our team starts work at 7 and finishes at 3:30 so that she can get home to do her exercise in the afternoon while the light's still shining. And I just think it's things like that that we can implement to make sure that their lifestyle fits in with their work. She doesn't get caught in traffic, and she's actually a whole lot happier because she can exercise every day.
I love that. Steve?
I've been an implementer actually of Hannah's recommendations in terms of, like, you know, when the sun comes up, to be able to have the sun on the eyes and on the face and that. Early this morning I was out running. Well, I call it running. And just, you know, the sun was just coming up over the hills. It was really nice. I just have found the practice that Hannah's suggested to me to recalibrate myself, right, in terms of in that way. And then also at the other end of the day, sitting on the fence outside and watching the sun go down. both have worked quite well for me.
No, I love that. Anna?
Mm.
Anna, what do you do? What do you do at the centre? What do you...
I'm Kitty, you said you're the problem. I'm also the problem because I'm perpetually on Zoom meetings, and I can walk into the building and then not speak to anyone for like 4 hours because I've just been Zoom after Zoom after Zoom, and that's not good. And so what I've actually started doing is only allocating 2 Zoom meetings a day, which is really super difficult for my diary, but actually I feel terrible after those days. And we're supposed to be role modeling this type of conversation, and I'm the worst at it. So one of the things that had to shift was my sitting and being on the screen for such long periods of time. And actually I've just started doing it, and it makes a world of difference. Actually, I just realize how exhausted I am at the end of the day after having just been sitting and being in front of the screen.
I love that. And I just wanted to emphasize, you've also employed at the Centre for Health though too, Anna, and Hannah. You all kind of exercise together, don't you? At like, you kind of shut down, and but it's good because there's that camaraderie, right? In terms of exercising and doing something.
Yeah, all of us. Hope the rest of the crew are watching. No, Matt said all of us.
We invite everyone.
Yeah, it's not so much that we expect everyone to join in on the lunchtime exercise that happens routinely at the centre. It's more of that idea that we provide space in the workday. So whatever exercise looks like for you, if the best time for you to do that exercise happens to be within the traditional working hours, then that's accommodated, because what we want to do is make movement and exercise easy for people to integrate into their lives. And so if that means it's 10 o'clock in the morning for someone, well, then it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and that's how their diary and their workload is arranged. It's just that the majority of us happen to do it at lunchtime. But as Hannah said, we take an extended lunchtime because we do our exercise and then we eat properly and have the downtime that is associated, so we're not just rushing from exercise straight into a meeting or something.
Unless someone's booked a Zoom meeting.
Yes.
Role model. Hey, Steve, from a mental perspective, we know that when we're, and Anna's alluded to that tonight, that you don't feel good when you're just sitting at your computer kind of day in, day out. Is it like a habit that we have to break, or like we know we don't feel good about it? And like even you, Anna, like how did you kind of, it's almost like breaking that habit, right? Because we're so used to like working, sitting at our computers and doing our mahi, but how do we change that up? Like, is it a question in there? I'm just trying we know it's not good for us, and yet we continue to do it. And we know it's good for us to go for a walk, and it's cold, and we don't do it anyway some days. But like, how do we, like, what's the prompt? Like, yeah.
Can if I just cut in just for a sec, and this is purely because I literally had this corridor with a room full of fuel tank drivers today about the fact that I'm standing up for the second time, and only maybe a quarter of them had actually implemented the lifestyle behavior type stuff that we talked about the first time I saw them 6 months ago. And it was sort of the fact that most of the people that come to see us of their own accord are already in the phase that they want to make changes. And it's because they're, maybe they've had their own health scare, they've just lost a loved one to something, or there's something that's happened that's preempted that want to change. And so trying to find that want when actually you don't have anything that's imminently gonna be disastrous if you don't make a change is really hard. And so we put it to them that, when you're retired, when you're 70, 80, 90 years of age, what do you want to be doing? Like, do you want to be in a hospital, home, you know, doing nothing? Or do you want to be traveling the world, New Zealand, riding your e-bike, running around after your grandkids, being active, doing all that kind of stuff? And what people need to recognize is that in order to be doing that stuff when you're that age, you need to start making and implementing changes now so that your physical body as well as your mental health can actually make it there. So that was our discussion today. Sorry, Steve, I'll pass over to you now.
That's good. Sweet. Yeah. I'm just thinking it depends on the kind of mahi, right, that we're engaged in. So some might be a knowledge work kind of mahi and some might not be. And so it'd be a little bit different depending on what kind of thing you're doing. If you're in the knowledge work kind of mahi space, then there's always more work than what we can do. So accepting that fact, right, there's always more than what we're possibly able to do, either in a day, week, month, year, in terms of pieces to get through. And so working to structure and set up how your priority pieces that you're going to focus on, and then those are your measurement for your day, the 2 or 3 things that are your priority for the day to move, those are your measurements for your day, rather than just the list of 4,500 things that you haven't cleared, or the 3,800 emails and the 250 that are still unread, right? That's not the measurement for you to feel like you've had an accomplished, successful, productive day. It's the 2 or 3 things you predetermined that you are acting upon, being agents to act upon, rather than feeling acted upon by all the stuff in the universe. That's one piece. If you're in the knowledge space, that can be effective. If you're not, then it's maybe it could be about how you're making uses of the windows that you do have in the day, the breaks from your mahi, what you're using those sort of spaces for.
I love that, Steve. So going on from that then, are there any specific habits or rituals you've developed to create a positive, calming working environment, even during busy periods? Hey?
I'm not sure that Hannah's going to like this, but we have...
What a nice...
We buy the staff coffee every morning. So I have decaf now. But it's really nice. Like we've got one of our embalmers is actually a barista. So we brought this beautiful coffee machine, and she's too busy to make us coffee now. So we buy it from up the road. We have a lovely relationship with them. We just call them and list out our names, and it's really nice for the staff. You have it whether we're busy, quiet, or any other time. And I think it just gives you an aha moment during because things can change for us really quickly. And it's just something that we know is going to happen. Everyone looks forward to it. And regardless of the chaos going on around us, we have our morning coffee, and it's really nice.
And it's connecting too, right?
It really is. It's amazing.
Yeah,
what a hot drink can do, especially when it's cold. But it is a real ritual for us, and I think that's really important. Yeah, that's
Despite
the
fact that you thought that Hannah was going to growl you for that, Kitty, we have a similar thing. It's not so much that we go and buy coffees; it's that we have this collective. We work like a whānau at the centre, as you guys know, and so someone is always on the coffee run, and you don't know who it is on any day, but you kind of also know that if you need a bit of connection, you just pop your head out the door and you're like, is anyone getting coffee this morning? And everyone has a bit of a giggle about the fact that I'm stressed already at 8 o'clock in the morning and I need a coffee. But it's that whole that everyone gets included, and like who does anyone want anything from across the road, and it's that camaraderie aspect that happens to be tagged onto a coffee. And I think that's like workplace wellness and its best form, is that catching up with each other, and the little tiny moment in the day where you have a little bit of a giggle about something.
And we've even had people that started and they wouldn't drink coffee. Now they all do.
I'm not sure we should be saying that.
I know, actually, it's not necessarily a good thing. But yeah, it's yeah, it is cool. Have a chat. Yeah.
We have something, you know, a white guy, right? No here, but on middle of the week, we sing we sing Waiata on Wednesdays when we're together as a team in person, like, because we've got do heaps of stuff like digitally and remotely and stuff, but on Wednesdays we're all in person together as a team, and so we have karakia, we have mihi, we have Waiata and that, and I'm, you know, quite a bad singer. And so
Yeah, mate.
everyone's like, oh no, don't let Steve set the mood. But I really it's one of my highlights for the week, is because it's like, it's grounding, it's centering for us. And you know, you can do that anywhere, right? No matter what your kind of work is, when you have break, if you're there with a team or what have you, you could sing or you could do that. And I find that really centering and grounding for me.
We also, just as another one, sorry Nat, we because we have a lot of different people come in and a lot of different kōrero that happens at the centre, so clearing spaces is really important. And so we've each perhaps got our own way of doing that, and Medi's been really instrumental in helping teach us different ways of supporting that practice. But that also really helps as a bit of a break too. You know, clear a space, have a moment, just let the old out and let some fresh air in. Yeah, and that's been really helpful, especially when there's been some hefty kōrero happen or something go on. It's a nice refresher and a way of then being able to present your full self to the next person or carry on with whatever you were doing elsewhere.
That's quite a good point, Hannah. Like, how important is it to kind of set yourself, so a morning ritual and then like a almost going home kind of ritual? Like, how important is like starting the day well and then ending the day at work well, so that you're good for your whānau when you go home? Like what can we have a kōrero kind of about that? Because I think connection is a big piece of hauora in general, right? So we've got work life and we've got home life, but how we kind of start the day and end the day sounds quite important. Let's have a kōrero about that.
Yeah,
I'm a super advocate of a ritual. Like, if you did nothing else, if you didn't change your diet and didn't start any exercise, but you set up a ritual practice, which might even just be a 10-minute thing in the morning, it would change, you know, everything, and all those other things would fall into place. So that getting up in the morning and having some set things that you do each morning as a ritual is hauora, and that doesn't have to be just in your home space. So it could be, I'm obviously on my laptop, and I've got a piece of paper stuck to next to my mouse pad on my laptop, which is my ritual process for when I arrive at work. I've got one for when I wake up in the morning at home, but actually this tells me the process that I go through so that I don't get lost in my emails when I first arrive at work, and I have to look at it and go through each of the steps, because that's like a checklist approach. So yeah, I'm super supportive of a ritual process.
And I think like the way you start your day is the way that you intend for it to continue. And I'm also a big fan of the first thing in the morning is your time. Because hopefully it's nice and quiet. If there's kids, hopefully you wake up before them, or they bring you a nice cup of tea in bed or something. But you've got a little bit of time where it is just you. And so like what Steve's doing, going out and seeing the sunshine, there's huge physiological benefit to being able to do things that start your day off gently. So whether that's, I'm going to say exercise, which obviously isn't necessarily gently, but it's a better stimulant than getting straight into the caffeine and sugar. Getting daylight exposure helps that natural cortisol release, so you're not getting big crashes or spikes and then crashes. So yeah, certainly the way that you start the day is the way that you intend to carry it on. And if you start it well, then you're going to get to work feeling so much better. You're far more likely to be efficient, be able to apply yourself a lot more productively. And then, yeah, the coming home after work, especially if the day's been quite stressful, quite full on, maybe made you a bit grumpy or, you know, not the best version of you, you don't want to take that person home to your whānau, because you want to be able to give them your good side, and hopefully be a positive person. Also, because actually when you get into bed at the end of the night as well, if you're finishing the day as a nice, positive person, you're far more likely to fall asleep into a deep, good quality sleep, because your body's going to want to go there. So having a routine or something to help you switch out of mahi. So whether that's like, we've got guys who will say take off if they're in overalls, if they've got work clothes or anything, they'll remove them at work or before they walk into their own home, so that when they're at home, they're them. We've got others that will, particularly if it's a bit of a commute to get home, and for a lot of us now, it's a bit of a drive, especially with the traffic. So having little things that you can do in the car on your way home, whether it's just put the window down and sing your lungs out, or stop off at the beach, go for a swim, or just let the water wash over your feet. Having ways that you can just kind of let the day go, but then put yourself into a positive frame of mind. So I think it was Wiramu, or you, Steve, who said to think about all of the good things that happened in the day, even if it's been a really shitty day. Just try and find some little wee things, like even if it was just that glimpse of the sunshine out the window. What were the good things that happened, so that it turns your frame of mind into that positive thought pattern for when you do get home.
I think that though, as a manager, you need to be really careful for your staff. Unfortunately for us, we don't have a start time or an end time often. It's 24/7. So the funeral directors, one of them got a call last night at 11:45. So that's when his day started, and it will finish sometime tonight. They don't go home and can't take their clothes off because they're just literally shoving kai in their mouth before they have to go out again. But for me, it's really important that I know what's happened for them last night. I know what time they got to work. I know what they've got on during the day. And we provide people like and I was going to say unusual, challenging roles like we have, that you support them and you know what's going on, so that you can give them breaks and they've got time to breathe and they've eaten, they've had a drink of water, they've been for a bit of a walk, because there can be no end sometimes for us. But in the down times, to make sure that they get to go home early or spend quality time with their families. We have roster days off now, so that they have a 4-day break to be with their families. Some of them just get lists from their wives, they tell me. But yeah, it's challenging when it's not a 9 to 5 role. And as a manager, that's part of my responsibility, to make sure that they are given time to breathe, and just actually breathing properly is important.
Yeah, Hannah, that's one of yours too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Breathing. And that's a great segue, Kitty, in terms of, so if you're a manager of kaimahi, what are some suggestions over and above what you've just suggested, Kitty? Anything else that you can think about that you support your kaimahi with? So you've spoken about the morning ritual with your coffee, which I love. Being mindful of what's going on in your kaimahi's day, like you just kind of said.
Yeah, and I think that we've made a real effort to move away from what I think the industry that we're in would be the norm. I'm not having a go at funeral directors or our industry at all, but it's commonly been grandfather owned, down to son, down to grandson, and working life was different in generations before, and we don't want to do the, well, I worked 100 hours a week, so should you. We've really in our company, we've made a real effort to move away from that and to support the staff in a different way. So if they need physio, we want to try and help them, firstly, give them the time to go. But even if it's not work related, we want to help support them financially for that. We want to get them to the Centre of Health for nutrition and flow pressos and midi and to do some different type of support. I'm really careful with their holidays. So it's easy not to take a holiday because you're like, oh, it's coming up to a busy time. So we employed more staff so that people were free to take their holidays, roster days off. If they need to be with their families in the work that we do, if you don't learn that people are important, I don't know whether you would ever learn it. So we want to make sure that if their families need them for whatever that may look like, medical appointments, being with their wife because she's having a bad day, whatever they need, we want to release the staff to be able to be with them because they're actually going to do a better job because everything we do is about people. So their cup has to be full to be able to give back to the people that we work with. And I think the other thing that changed for me is noticing when they've had people overload. So some families have been through really, really difficult times. It's not an expected death, and the funeral directors have a really difficult role to play, and they're very invested in that family, and they just need a bit of a break, but they still want to come to work. We can give them other jobs to do, which isn't people facing. So they can clean cars, they can get caskets ready, they can be there and be really supportive, but they don't have to be people facing. So I think that's some of the changes that we've made, and you really see the difference because that internal change affects the external change of what you're providing to the people that we work with.
But it's that understanding too, eh, Kitty?
Absolutely.
Is there any data around how much kind of headspace we can actually, or how much kind of get up and go that we can have in the day? Like, we've got a 24-hour day, we're at work for 8 hours. Is there any kind of data around how efficient we are during the day? Like, how long is that? Can employers expect us to work 8 hours a day non-stop? Steve?
I'm thinking, listening to Kitty's comments there, it's for those of us, regardless of whether we're in the knowledge workforce or we're doing some other kind of mahi, it's important to remember that that lots of employers now actually are more invested and interested in you. So don't be scared about highlighting to them, you know, hey, I need to be doing this, or I've got this coming up, or this is going on. Because one, if you just look at the pragmatic aspects, the labor market's really tight. So there's that piece, but also lots of organizations are moving along the journey, you know, they're no longer lots that we work with and have interaction with are in the same model of how things were done in the past. They're progressing and being progressive in their views around things. So don't be sort of concerned or worried, oh, I better not bring anything up because, you know, the boss will be upset about it. Actually, bring it up, talk to them, you know, about what's going on, because I just think we're just in a transition sort of space in that, in terms of employers-employee relationships. In terms of the time, yeah, so, you know, if you kind of really only have four hours or so, you know, 3.5 to 4.5 good hours in you of output of reasonable, high cognitively demanding work on a daily basis. That's it. So after that, you're getting your diminishing returns dropping off. I know we all smash out huge days sometimes, like really big days, but the reality is we're thinking we're doing a good job, but no one else is. So, you know, we're like, we're right down here, right? We're like, yeah, I'm going hard. And everyone's like, go home. Just being annoying. So, yeah. So that's kind of the thing there in terms of time and energy, right?
And I'd really support that. I would much rather staff come to me and say, look, I'm having a terrible day. It's not working out. I need to go.
Bye-bye. What are some key signs, whānau, that suggest an individual or team may be experiencing high levels of stress or burnout? And how can managers or employers address these issues before they actually take hold on our kaimahi? I'm going to pick on someone. Anna?
Thanks, Nat.
You're welcome.
I think that if an individual in a workplace is kind of struggling and falling down a slope, then that comes up in a lots of ways, in the same way that you would notice them in your friends and family who were struggling with something. And mostly that's around behavioral changes. They're not their normal self. You might describe them as being not their normal self. So they're dropping the ball on stuff. They're not communicating in the way that they often do. They might be short and sharp on stuff. So behavioral changes is kind of the key to knowing that something's going on. And that's one thing that we're really big on. If someone walks through the door in the morning and they're slightly off, we don't leave it. We don't leave that. We're like, what's up? You know, and they're like, no, I'm fine. And no, there's something up. You know, we need to talk through this because what we do in our day, you know, really similar to what you've described, Kitty, if we're not on our game, then that really comes across in our interactions with people who have come to us for help. So yeah, I think you see it in behavior. Collectively though, if for example there's a lot of workflow in a workplace, or there's a stressful time that's associated with your industry, like accountants in March perhaps, then it's about knowing that those stressful periods are coming, and that, or you know, you look forward in the calendar and you think, man, the whole team's going to get smashed this month because there's so much happening. It's about knowing that in advance and then putting things in place prior, because there's not a heck of a lot you can do when you're in the midst of it. And so that proactive approach would probably be our, you know, that's the ideal.
I think the other thing for us, Nat, is to really know your staff and to have your eyes wide open. So I can just watch people in our team. I can tell by the way they walk in the door in the morning, as Anna just said. One of our team had a really rough time at the beginning of the year, and I could tell because he was starting to make mistakes and just in paperwork and just little things. And so I met with him and just said to him, you know, where are you? Because you're not here. And he said, yeah, I don't actually know what's going on, but I'll be fine. A couple of weeks later, he still wasn't amazing. And I said, we need to get you to the GP. And we ended up referring him to get some professional help, which was amazing. We gave him time off. So you just have to support them through that journey. And we knew together that it could be that he wasn't going to come back. And we had open conversations about that. We talked about other things he could possibly do, because I really wanted him to feel and know that he was an important person before an employee. He was amazing at what he does, and we didn't want to lose him. But again, if we can't learn that people aren't important in what we do, then we shouldn't be doing what we're doing. So, and it's an amazing outcome because he's still with us and he's loving what he's doing, and the support was there. But it's just watching. I could just tell by his behaviour, by his body language. He was tired all the time, and he'd had a big holiday. So we knew that something wasn't quite right for him. Yeah. And I asked his permission to share that story tonight, by the way.
And I think just to add on that, like, we're all really fortunate to work in companies with incredible people who we actually all really care about. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people work in much larger companies and it's purely they're just going to work and there's no real emotional connection bar the fact that it's their job, it's the paycheck. And so in those circumstances, obviously, it can be really difficult to even just find someone that you can trust to talk about what's going on. And so that's where we talk about instead, what are the things that you actually have control of? What are the things that you can control in your day, whether that be at mahi or in your breaks or before or after work? What are the things that you can actually do yourself to perhaps support yourself, surround yourself with people that can support you, and provide that care and that whatever it is that you need at that time. And yeah, being able to plan ahead is a huge benefit, but often we kind of get thrown into situations without really any warning or any notice that anything's coming up. So having in place people that you can trust, but having little routines or things that you have already been practicing just makes it so much easier when those times come up.
Awesome, Hannah, thank you. Anything else? Anything else, team? Carl? Moving kind of slightly and talking kind of more energy levels and stuff as well. Anna, do you want to have a kōrero about how integrating kind of the principles of the maramataka into can enhance workplace hauora?
Yeah, sure.
First, what is the maramataka?
Yeah.
And two, yeah, let's have a kōrero about this.
Yeah, sure. So the maramataka is the Māori lunar calendar, but other cultures have a lunar calendar and a lunar cycle and an understanding of the impact of the moon on the planet, and because we're inhabitants of the planet, therefore an impact on us. And there's been a revitalization of knowledge about the maramataka in the last few years, and many Māori organisations are implementing the maramataka in their planning of things. So even science tells us about the phases of the moon and the different energy. If you think about, some people don't like this conversation because it's about energy. It's about things you can't see and having an impact on physical health and well-being, but also physical things. But I mean, when you can't argue the fact that the moon moves the tide, and that this unseen energy is shifting that volume of water on the daily in and out, and so therefore it doesn't make any sense at all to think that the moon can't have an impact on the water that is the majority of this being that we are. And so that's the underpinning principles of using a maramataka way of planning your life or your work day. And so in the maramataka learnings, there's different phases of the moon and an understanding of what happens in those phases energy wise. So there are days in the maramataka which are noted as being low energy days. So these aren't days that you want to go and try and run a marathon and do your hardcore cognitive thinking. You don't want to write your book on the low energy days. Those are days where you can do other tasks, maybe your little the little easy tasks on your list, so that you feel like you're accomplishing things, but they're not taking a whole heap of energy. And then there are the high energy days where you might choose to do your big bulk of something, your strategic stuff. And so the different phases of the maramataka talk about different energies and the times that are good for things and not so good for other things. And they relate to workplace things, but traditionally it was about planting and harvesting and about activities that should be done and shouldn't be done on the different phases of the moon. And what we've found in terms of trying to implement that into our workplace, it's not so much that we go by the maramataka every single day, but it's kind of like everyone's a bit low today. And then mostly it's Hannah. We're like, Hannah, where are we on the maramataka? And she'll be like, oh, it's a low energy day. So then we're all like okay about the fact that we're all feeling a little bit And then it also makes you think, okay, so I'm feeling a bit it's a low energy day. I know the type of tasks I need to do for the rest of the day now. It's just a reset and a reconfiguration. And so it also stops that I'm not good enough, I've failed today, I haven't done enough.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Because you are, at the centre, you are incorporating the maramataka into your workplace environment, aren't you? I mean,
Yeah,
I've
and
had
that's
conversations with you.
Yeah, and that's led by Mere. Mere has been, you know, gaining her knowledge over the last few years and is now like superstar maramataka lady.
Yeah.
And so each of us are on our own little journey, with, you know, having obviously an expert in the whare to go to when we need to. Hannah's pretty blinking good too, because Hannah sits next to me in my office. I mean, I hardly go to Mere these days. I'm like, Hannah, I need some maramataka.
But I love how you're also, it's connecting about that as well. And it's also that what it sounds like is, now I know why I'm feeling low, and being able to have that kōrero with each other to go, you know, this is why, and not feel stink about it. It's just like, okay, this is why, and then you carry on, not sitting it and just feeling it. You can kind of get past it. That's what it sounds like.
And I also used to have a rule that I didn't work after 5 p.m. So I had this real hard and fast. I don't do weekends and I don't do after 5 o'clock. And it never really worked for me, but I used to like toe the line on it because it was, you know, I'm like protecting my family time. But now I know that on a high energy day, actually, if I work till 7 o'clock at night, it's K to 5. And then I'll take that time some other day when I'm not feeling great. And it's made life more flexible and more kind of like this, how it should be, as opposed to rigid.
I think the big part in that as well actually is, especially if you've planned it ahead, so you know when those low energy phases are, and courtesy of my little planner, it also tells me what days I need to, you know, go and do something nice for yourself, like a miri or just go for a walk in the bush. So I'll plan those things in, and so on those days, they are my recovery days, they're my chill out days, and then that tops you up physically wise, but also mentally, emotionally, everything, so that on the other days you've actually got the energy to apply to your mahi. So it's really helping in a way of almost periodization your mahi, so that you can work hard but then you can recover. That's what's been really helpful for me with it.
We've got a big whiteboard at work and we put the calendar up a couple of years ago now. And to start with, I think people thought, oh, this is just weird. But but people literally walk in now and see where the moon cycle is, and they're like, oh, that's why. Or they blame it on, that's why the other people's cranky. But it is really helpful. It's amazing how often we refer to it. I plan my meetings around it. Hannah, you need to decrease your Zooms when it's low energy, but I literally plan what I've got to do throughout the month around it, because otherwise I just know I'm going to be hoha and useless. So it's a really good tool.
It's amazing how many people are adopting the maramataka, or like really leaning into understanding more about it. The more people I talk to, the more people are like, yeah, man, I'm all over it. I'm like, I'm missing out.
Yeah. And I think we'll book Medi in for a Medi visit.
Yeah, do that.
Man, this hour's gone really fast. I wanted to talk about kind of mental health. How can organisations encourage open conversations about mental health and create a stigma-free environment that supports employees' emotional well-being? Steve, I'm going to open with you, please.
Sweet. So it really starts with, you know, I think I heard Kitty say earlier, starts from the inside out, right? And so in any organization, it starts from the inside out as well. So deep whanaungatanga and vulnerability in terms of what's happening for you as someone who has responsibility for organizations. That sets the pattern to be able to have kōrero about anything, really, that's going on. So regardless of whether it's mental health challenges or physical health challenges or other things that are going on, the fact that you're set a pattern of having regular hui and kōrero that is candid and real, rather than shallow and pretend is kind of the path really to lay a platform in my view, and observing some organizations that really trying hard to do that. Right.
Anyone else?
That's how I do it. So I don't like performance reviews. I think they're awful. For me personally, I've never enjoyed them. So I just try and have open conversations with the staff on a continual basis. But again, like I said before, you can tell by people's body language some days that they're not having a good time. And I've got a really open door. Well, I sit in the office with everyone. I don't have my own office. And I think direct contact, I think trust is really important. They need to be able to trust me, but they also need to be able to trust someone else in the team. And I've always said to them, if you don't want to talk to me, pick one person to talk to, because you need that support within the team. And I've also said to them, like, I know something's up. You don't need to tell me what it is, but what can we do to help you? Is there professional help you need? Do you need to go and get some nutritional help? Do you need to sleep more? Do you need to, what can we do to help you? Because mental health is huge. But I also think we need to look at the positives of the good mental health. So we celebrate when people are well as well.
What about if you work in a large organisation, right? So you don't have these beautiful whānau networks around you. What can you do to, I guess, take back a little bit of control? Because we talk about that a lot, right? What can you control? What can you do to better yourself, to better, getting out and going for a walk at lunchtime? But, you don't necessarily have I don't know, how important is it to create a whānau at work to support you, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because everything is about connection. Like this whole kōrero is around, i tino pō has been about what can we do to support each other. Knowing your employees, talking to them, connecting first thing in the morning is one of the rituals that we do that kind of sets the platform for the day. So maybe you work in a large organization, how do you, I don't know, it sounds really important to have that work whānau and those work connections for your overall well-being, not just mental well-being. Let's have a little bit of a kōrero about that, because I think that's a massive pattern throughout all of our kōrero tonight.
I think creating whānau is important in any space. And so if your workplace is large and disconnected just because of the nature of the organisation, then finding your definition of whānau with people who are your people, find your people in that large organisation, even if they're in a different department or in a different building, because we've got this technology that can connect us. We need to. And so creating whānau and creating ritual connection with that whānau, regardless of what space you're in. So Hannah works with lots of truck drivers, and so you're driving in your truck by yourself most of the day. And so there's lots of ways for that person to connect that are not the ways that we've described this evening. So it's about who are your people in this organisation, the people that you love being with, that make you laugh, who, have similar worldview to you, and how do you catch up with them?
And I think through the whole COVID saga as well, obviously it's highlighted how awesome things like this are, Zoom, but it's also highlighted how actually so important that person-to-person connection is, how so vital it is to actually be in the same room as people, to have a conversation, to see people face to face. But we've also got so many more people now that actually just work from home, and all the people they see every day are either on a screen or on a phone. And so perhaps it's not necessarily always making those workplace whānau, because actually for some people in some organizations and small companies that you actually can't really do that wholeheartedly like we can by stepping into a place of work. So it might be maybe engaging in other activities or other groups outside of work. So, I mean, sport, that's one great way. Go join a running club or a lawn bowls club, or something where obviously it's a positive effect on yourself as well, but you're surrounded by other people. And so you've got that opportunity to then connect with people and to talk and to laugh and to share experiences. Talk about work if you want, but you can talk about anything. So it's just having those connections with people that I think are so important, as well as your own whānau as well.
Any other whakaaro on that?
I agree with Hannah. I'm part of a sister wives club. So we pay a certain amount of money into an account each week. And once a year we go away and it could be more. It doesn't have to be overseas and we probably drink too much wine, Hannah, and probably eat too much kai, but we have the best time. And we could be in our pajamas all day, watching movies all day. We fix the world in 5 days. It's usually about 5 days. We have other friends pop in and out who fill our cups, but those conversations, and Michelle Obama talks about the people that you sit around your table, that's what fills my cup. You know, my job can be quite draining, and it's my people and my village who are not necessarily my direct whānau, but my other extended people that can support you when you're not in connection, because I can't connect the same way that our staff do, and I sort of sit above them. So my relationships can't really be that in depth at work, but they are outside, and that's really important to me.
Totally agree.
Yeah, liver overload though. Sorry, Hannah.
No, go for gold. Life's for living. You've got to enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah, I agree. All right, whānau, we're almost at the end of our Zui tonight. And so thank you to everyone who's watching at home. I'm just going to go around our virtual tepu tonight and just ask each of our panel members, there was one piece of advice that you could give our whānau at home watching that you could impart. What would that one piece of advice be? Hannah, do you want to start? I know. I was getting the eyes from Anna, like, don't you ask me. You always ask me first. So I thought I'd share the love and go with you tonight, Hannah.
Yeah. This wise man once told me that I needed to eat my frog first. That wise man being on the screen. But planning the day, so putting your priorities first, even if they seem hard or that they seem like there's other things that need to be done ahead of them, actually chipping off little bits of that priority are going to be so just make you feel like you're accomplishing something. And so even if the rest of the day falls to pieces, you've done that little something and you can feel good at the end of the day for doing it. And I really value that. I'm getting back into that stream now, so it's really helpful. So yeah, that's my one piece. So eat the frog first and finish the day remembering all the good things that happened. Even if you have to try and force feed them into your mind, just think about all the good things. You'll sleep so much better.
Love it. Thanks, Hannah. Kitty?
Mine's very similar. So I plan 12 months ahead for my work schedule. I break it down to monthly planning, daily planning, and then I plan and replan, because the plans don't always work. And someone once told me to write my goals in concrete, my plans in the sand, and that works really well because my goals don't move, but my plans move all the time. I could get to work and I won't start my day till 4:30 because it all just turns to rubbish. But I think if you can write things down and you're okay with moving what's not important, I'm with Hannah. It makes you feel like you still achieved And actually, what's probably on that piece of paper isn't that important. The people are important.
Key theme. Anna?
I'm going to go a little bit left field with my one tonight, because we've been talking about mostly about organisation, where the culture might be shifting towards something, more holistic and thinking about workplace wellbeing. But there is the reality that sometimes workplaces aren't that good for your health. And if it's like having a toxic friend. Sometimes you need to see that the environment that you're in is not doing you any good. I'm not suggesting that everyone watching goes and quits their job tomorrow, but I think if you're really struggling in your work environment and it's impacting your hauora, then having some steps in place to think about how you might transition from that environment if you don't feel like you've got the control to make that environment a better place for your hauora. That sometimes we do just have to take a leap when it comes to looking after ourselves and our families.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks, Anna. Steve?
Maybe the centering and grounding ourselves in our tūranga waiwai. So in terms of, we're busy. There's lots of stuff going on and we're doing this way and going this way, and just being still and grounding and centering ourselves. Now, for some, that might be in the garden. For some, that might be at their whenua. For others, that might be in the ocean, might be on a mountain. But wherever it is that grounds you and really centers you, that enables you to get clarity, to look ahead, to look behind, and then also to look ahead would be, so find that place that you can go to that really does that for you, and then visit there often.
Oh, that's such a beautiful way
It is.
our kōrero. I love that, Steve. Thank you so much. Thank you to all our panel tonight for your amazing and beautiful whakaaro about the people we work with and your aroha that you show for them. We've had loads of comments in terms of how much people are enjoying listening to how much you all care about the people you work with and the time and effort that you put in. So thank you so much. It's been noted by me and by everyone watching tonight. So thank you all. And whānau watching at home, we'll be back next month, same time, same place, on the Facebook page, and we will kōrero with you next month. Pō mari e whānau.
Bye, everyone.